The 49ers officially signed a quarterback, currently their fourth quarterback. So Kyle Shanahan's going to get his third quarterback, which is what he wanted for camp. His name is Brandon Allen. And so I had to do my due diligence and my homework, and I have a lot. Not a lot. I don't have a lot. But I have some things we can say about Brandon Allen. No relation to Josh Allen, okay? None. And I want to make it clear that, you know, the 49ers, they didn't get the right Allen. But they got Brandon Allen. I'm just curious to know.
Oh, man, they did not get the right Allen.
Any positive thoughts on Brandon Allen before I go on my spiel?
He's a veteran. He's been around the game. He's been in the NFL.
He's going into his fifth season. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, he's seen some things. And, I mean, we're not expecting him to come in and be our savior, right? We're not expecting him to come in. See this? We're not expecting Brandon Allen to come in and be our day one starter. So he's a body. He's an arm for camp. You know, if he finds a way to make his way on the roster, that means somebody is not performing well because Brock is injured. It's either Trey or Sam. Somebody's not performing well if Brandon Allen finds a way to make it on the 53-man roster. But, you know, I think he may be with us long term. That's just going to be on the practice squad as a veteran player.
I think the 49ers find a way to get him to somewhat make this roster because I'm hoping we go at two quarterbacks, but the past 3-4 years, it's been three quarterbacks on the active roster. And so I think he's going to find a way because the 49ers, they have to place Brock Purdy on the PUP. Like, it just makes all the perfect sense. It gives him more time to get ready. They're not rushing him back. These are all the concerns we have as content creators and fans and things like that. Like, don't rush the kid back. We got quarterbacks in the stable. The team is built and stacked. There's no reason to rush Brock back. So I'm curious to see if they put him on the PUP. What are your thoughts on that?
What's the earliest he could come back if he's on the PUP? Was it week 8?
No, I think PUP is a 4-week. It's almost like the IR, but it's if you initiate them. If you initiate the PUP before the season, it doesn't have the same rules as the IR, though. You know
Gotcha.
How an IR, you can bring players back a certain amount of times, and then you use up all your IR spots? If you put them on the PUP, it doesn't count as an IR spot.
Yes, I mean, if he's not ready to go, I agree with you 1,000%. You don't force him back under any circumstance. And honestly, if you look at our team, the past 2, maybe 3 seasons, one of the things we always talk about is how slow we start.
Correct.
And I mean, we want Kyle to kind of turn that around and start fast, finish fast. But that beginning of the season when he's trying to find his groove, find his rhythm, you know, as long as they don't go winless, if they can find a way to get to 500, Kyle really doesn't care.
Okay.
So if Brock isn't 100% ready, put him on that PUP, give him an additional 4 weeks, see how Trey is playing, see how Sam Darnold is playing, and then reevaluate it after that 4 weeks.
Okay. And it just makes perfect sense because this is Kyle Shanahan finding ways to manipulate the system. And I'm not saying he manipulated for Brock to get injured or anything, but because he is injured, there's no reason to rush him back. You already signed Sam Darnold as a free agent in the offseason. You still putting your faith in Trey Lance. And then you bring in that third camp. I know a lot of people are calling him a camp body, but I think you bring in that third active roster spot quarterback. And I'll talk about why they went veteran in a second. Let's read my man Lee's comment Makes sense for Purdy to go on PUP. Gives him more time to recover. Also gives Lance a chance to progress, which is something we didn't talk about. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the more time Lance has to prove that, he's the starting quarterback and take this job back is only a benefit to him. He has to go out there and do it. But if we're able to put Brock Purdy on the PUP, that just gives Trey Lance more time. And that's not more time to slack off and say, I have a little bit more wiggle room. No, you don't. There's no margin for error. But you have more time to stack good days on top of good days on top of good days.
All right, and then Pocket the Cheesecake says PUP says that you're not eligible and you're ineligible till week 7, so that means they could bring you back week 8. What I was trying to say is that is correct. And then if Trey is still doing well, they could place him on the IR, which means they keep him safe, right?
Yeah.
They keep manipulating, and it depends on how injuries could kind of pile up because the IR, in my opinion, hurt the 49ers last season. I felt like they mismanaged the IR just a tad bit. They mismanaged it. When they brought back Elijah Mitchell, they could have brought back what's the defensive tackle that had gotten injured as well from Philly? Um,
Ridgeway.
Ridgeway. They chose to bring back Mitchell, which was the right choice. I mean, you bring back that 1-2 punch, but damn, they needed Ridgeway and that NFC Championship game, and then Elijah Mitchell didn't even suit up. So I think the Curtis Lofton piece kind of messed that up, which he is out there at their camp right now, looking pretty damn good. All right, so let's finish up on Brandon Allen. So Brandon Allen, he's going into his 5th season. All right, he's a 56.7% completion percentage guy. He didn't play much last year. He played the most in 2020, where he finished that season at 63.4% with 925 yards in 2020.
And
Now,
that's the season that Burrow tore his
Burrow,
ACL, right?
that's the season that Burrow tore his ACL. Now, a couple of things we want to know is that they feel like, and from what I read about Brandon Allen, he's a guy that helped mentor, and get Joe Burrow up to speed, back to, I mean, Joe Burrow has his traits, but he's been kind of like a mentor. And so when you mention the first thing you talked about, oh, he's a veteran, right? So now you're going to get a veteran in the room with some young quarterbacks. Now, to me, Sam Darnold should be considered a veteran. I feel like they're isn't Sam Darnold going into year 5 as well? So it's going to be interesting, I
I
think.
believe so.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Sam Darnold has more experience, but Sam Darnold was the guy. Brandon Allen wasn't the guy. He was always there to back up the guy. And so, this is going to be interesting to see how it works. Now, veteran is the key word when it comes to Brandon Allen. He finished in his career, he has 1,611 yards, 10 TDs, 6 interceptions. I did want to point that out. He's been sacked 21 times. His big throw ability, he has about 8 of them Johns, getting the ball down the field, accurate, whatever, whatever, whatever. And so he's going to be a pretty good. If I tell you what, he's better than motherfucking Josh Johnson. That I do know. Like, he's better than Josh Johnson. I mean, the stats say that he's better. And so last year he played in week 9. He went 3 for 3, no TDs. He was sacked once last year. And so he had 1 drop pass. But so that didn't account to his attempts and things like that. But I think you bring him in because you talked about veteranship. And so when here's the key to veteranship. If he does get released, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to get picked up. And because of the new practice squad rules, I believe you can have 7 vets on that joint. And then I think the total was 17. I could be wrong. I forget. It changes. But I think you can have 7 vets and then 10 of those, the guys, the free agents that you have, the undrafted guys. A couple of those will probably make it, and guys you may cut that won't clear waivers, you'll bring back. And so having veterans, I think the 49ers, if I go through their roster, they'll have some veterans on there that I think will clear waivers and make it to that practice squad. Him, Brandon Allen, being one. So instead of, because people are asking the question, well, why not just go with a UDFA? Or why not? Why didn't you draft a quarterback? And so, well, why do you think, other than the fact the 49ers may not have had felt that their quarterback was taken, maybe DTR was taken, why do you think they didn't draft a quarterback or sign a UDFA?
I think we saw a lot of youth at the position. Obviously, Trey still young, Brock Purdy still young. Now you still have Trey still young, still have Brock still young. Sam Darnold has been the guy, um, but he's been in so many different systems with different coaches. I think his maturity level, as far as just understanding one offense and his responsibilities in one offense, you can kind of consider him still a young guy as well. Um, at least Brandon Allen has been, in the same system for multiple years, in a system that kind of does have bits and pieces of what Kyle Shanahan wants to run. Brandon Allen's also 30 years old. So although he's going into his fifth year, he came into the league a little bit more mature age wise. So him being 30 years old, him being potentially looked at as a vocal leader within that quarterback room as an extension of Kyle Shanahan and Brian Greasy. I think that's more of what they were looking for than another young guy who is coming in. Eyes are wide, the lights are bright. He's trying to learn, he's trying to figure things out, and he can't really help as far as the nuance of playing the quarterback position. So just like in a situation where, you have a big brother, a big brother can tell you the nuances about playing football or playing basketball or talking to girls because they've done it and they've experienced it, right? Um, and a big brother can kind of have more conversations, more free, open conversations than say an uncle or a dad might be able to have with the little brother. You see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah, that
think
makes
as an
perfect sense.
extension of Kyle and Brian Greasy, you bring in a veteran quarterback who can kind of be the big brother of the room to continue to bring along Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and that it could make sense to why they went veteran and like a Josh Allen who's been around, a journeyman, opposed to bringing in anybody else. I mean, they could have went super duper veteran and tried to get like a Ben Roethlisberger or a Philip Rivers, but they they chose to go with they chose to go with Josh Johnson. So I think they're scrapping that. They're taking that out of their playbook. They kind of messed up there. It's unfortunate he got hurt in the NFC Championship game, but the 49ers decided to go with an older, younger vet. I guess that's how I want to say it. He's older in age, but still has youth in the league. But you're gonna get that, that maturity, like you said, like you're gonna get that from this guy, and that's why from the Bengals, content world, they were talking about how he was a help to Joe Burrow. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of like how that kind of came up. Like he even you're like, how can this dude help? How can he mentor Joe Burrow? Yo, maturity, like things like that. People were asking, how can Trey Lance, when Brock Purdy says he was the first one that he named as being helped, and they were like, well, how can Trey Lance mentor Brock Purdy? It's just from the things that he's seen. It didn't matter what Brock Purdy or his experience. It could have been from an injury perspective. Trey Lance got injured. He was telling Brock Purdy how you can overcome it and handle the stuff. Hey man, I'm just gonna get into film. I'm gonna get into the books. I can't do anything else. So maybe that was the help Brock Purdy was talking about. I don't know. Brandon Allen is the fourth quarterback on the 49ers roster. All right. And I just wanted to make mention of that into the world, let y'all know.